The stars looked different this far from Earth. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U-East Defiance, watching the bright dots of light through the main screen. 3 years of deep space travel had brought them to the edge of human knowledge. Out here, past the furthest colonies, everything was new and unknown. "Captain, we have something on sensors," said Navigator Amy Watson from her station. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the excitement underneath. After months of empty space, finding anything was big news. Jake walked over to look at her screen. "What do you see?" "Unknown vessel, sir. About 2,000 kilometers ahead. It's not moving and not sending any signals." Amy's fingers moved across her controls. "The design doesn't match anything in our database." Chief Engineer Lisa Hayes looked up from her workstation. "Could be a derelict. Maybe we finally found proof of other intelligent life. Or maybe they found us first," said Weapons Officer Danny Cruz. He was always the careful one, always thinking about danger. "We should be ready for anything." Jake nodded. Danny was right to be cautious. They were so far from home that if something went wrong, no one would come to help them. Red alert. All hands to stations. "Danny, bring weapons online, but don't target anything yet." The bridge lights changed to red, and alarm sounds filled the ship. All around the Defiance, crew members ran to their posts. Dr. Paul Martinez left his medical bay and came to the bridge. In situations like this, having the doctor close was always smart. "Should I wake the off-duty crew?" asked Amy. "Do it. I want everyone ready." Jake sat in his command chair and studied the alien ship on the screen. It was big, maybe twice the size of the Defiance. The hull was dark gray, with strange curved lines that made it look almost alive. "Lisa, what do your sensors tell us?" Lisa's hands moved quickly over her controls. "Hull material is unknown. No energy readings from engines or weapons. If it's powered down, it's doing a very good job of hiding it." "Maybe they're all dead," said Dr. Martinez. "Ship could have been drifting for years." Jake wanted to believe that. Finding alien technology, even from a dead ship, would be the discovery of the century. But something felt wrong. "Take us closer, Amy. Nice and slow." The Defiance moved forward through space. As they got closer, more details of the alien ship became clear. It had what looked like weapon ports along its sides. The hull was scarred with marks that might have been from battles. "Captain," said Amy, "I'm reading some kind of internal structure. There are chambers inside, but I can't tell if anyone is alive in there." "Life support?" asked Jake. "Impossible to tell with their technology." Jake made his decision. "Open a channel. On all frequencies. Let's see if anyone is home." Amy worked at her station. "Channel open, sir." Jake stood up. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Defiance. We mean no harm. Please respond." They waited. The bridge was quiet except for the soft sounds of the ship's systems. Seconds passed, then minutes. "Nothing, Captain," said Amy. "Try again." Jake repeated his message. Still nothing came back. The alien ship just sat there in space, dark and silent. "Maybe we should send over a team," suggested Lisa. "If the ship is really dead, we could learn so much." Jake was thinking about it when Danny spoke up. "Captain, I'm reading energy spikes from the alien vessel." Everyone turned to look at the main screen. The alien ship still looked dead, but now Jake could see small lights beginning to glow along its hull. "They were playing dead," said Danny. His voice was tight with worry. "Battle stations," Jake ordered. "All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for possible combat." The alien ship's lights grew brighter. Then, without warning, parts of its hull opened up. Jake could see weapon ports and launch tubes. "They're targeting us," said Danny. "Multiple weapons locks." Evasive maneuvers, Jake shouted to Amy. Get us out of here. But before Amy could move the ship, beams of bright blue energy shot out from the alien vessel. The beams hit the Defiance and everything went wrong at once. All the lights went out. The engine sound stopped. Every control panel on the bridge went dark. Emergency lighting kicked in, filling the bridge with red light, but Jake could tell that most of their ship was dead. What happened? He demanded. Lisa was working frantically at her dead controls. Some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon. It killed everything. Engines, weapons, life support, communications. Everything. How? Long until backup systems come online? I don't know if they will. This wasn't like anything we've ever seen. It was designed to shut down our kind of technology. On the main screen, which was running on emergency power, they could see the alien ship moving toward them. As it got closer, Jake could see it was even bigger than he thought. Are we completely helpless? He asked. Pretty much, said Lisa. Her voice was grim. We have emergency life support for maybe 6 hours. After that, she didn't finish the sentence. A new voice suddenly filled the bridge. It was speaking English, but with an accent Jake had never heard before. Human vessel, this is Commander Vex of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender immediately. Resistance will result in your death. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. But what orders could he give when their ship was dead in space? The alien voice continued. We know about your species. We have been watching you. You are primitive and weak. You will serve the Empire, or you will die. Jake found his voice. This is Captain Morrison. We are peaceful explorers. We mean no harm to you or your empire. Commander Vex laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Peace is for the strong. You are not strong. Prepare to be boarded. Through the main screen, Jake watched as smaller ships launched from the alien vessel. They were coming fast, and there was nothing the Defiance could do to stop them. Everyone listen to me, Jake said to his crew. We're not done yet. These aliens made one mistake. They think humans give up easily. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The alien boarding ships attached to the Defiance with loud metal sounds that echoed through the hull. Jake Morrison felt the vibrations under his feet as the enemy cut through their outer doors. Emergency lights flickered, and the air was getting thin. How many? Jake asked Danny Cruz, who was watching the security monitors that still worked. At least 20 aliens, maybe more. They're coming through airlocks on 3 different levels. Danny's hand moved to his sidearm. They're big. Captain, bigger than humans. Through the security cameras, Jake got his first look at the Zephyrians. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with gray skin and forearms. They wore black armor and carried weapons that looked like they could cut through steel. Their faces were long with large yellow eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. They're heading for the bridge and engineering, reported Amy Watson from her dead control station. Lisa Hayes was still working frantically at her engineering controls, trying to get something, anything, to work. Captain, I've got partial power. To Deck 7. Maybe I can get to engineering and restart some systems. Too dangerous, Jake said. Those things are all over the ship. With respect, sir, we're dead anyway if I don't try. Give me 10 minutes. Maybe I can get engines back online. Before Jake could answer, the bridge doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the air, and through it came 3 Zephyrian soldiers. Their weapons were pointed at the human crew. Do not move, said the lead alien in that strange accented English. You will surrender now. Jake raised his hand slowly. Around him, his crew did the same. But he noticed Lisa Hayes was slowly backing toward the emergency exit behind her station. The Zephyrian commander was different from the soldiers. He wore red markings on his armor, and seemed to be in charge. "I am Sub-Commander Kraft. Which of you leads this vessel?" "I do," Jake said, stepping forward. "Captain Jake Morrison." Kraft studied Jake with those glowing yellow eyes. "You are?" "Smaller than expected. Weaker. How did your species ever leave your home planet?" "We're tougher than we look," Jake replied. Kraft made a sound that might have been laughter. "We shall see. Commander Vex wishes to speak with you. The rest of your crew will be processed." "Processed?" "Some will become slaves. Others will be used for research. Your fate depends on how useful you are to the Empire." While Kraft was talking, Jake saw Lisa Hayes slip through the emergency exit. None of the aliens noticed. Good. Maybe. She could do something to help them. The Zephyrians forced Jake and his bridge crew through the corridors of their own ship. Jake saw more aliens everywhere, going through their equipment and taking prisoners. He counted at least 15 crew members being held in the main cargo bay, including some who were wounded. Dr. Paul Martinez was being allowed to treat the injured, but under heavy guard. Jake caught the doctor's eye and saw the same determination there that he felt. They weren't giving up. They brought Jake to the main communications room, where a large screen showed Commander Vex on the alien ship. Up close, Vex was even more intimidating than his voice suggested. His armor was gold and red, and scars covered the visible parts of his gray skin. "So this is a human captain," Vex said, looking Jake up and down. "Disappointing. I expected warriors, but you look like children." "We're peaceful explorers," Jake said. "We didn't come here to fight. Peace," Vex spat, "a luxury for those with power. Your species has no power. You have weak ships, primitive weapons, and soft bodies. Why should the Empire allow you to exist?" Jake felt anger building inside him, but he kept his voice calm. "Because we can be useful to you. We know things about this part of space that you don't." "What things?" Jake was making it up as he went, trying to buy time. Resource locations, habitable planets, trade routes your empire could use. Vex seemed interested. "Continue. Let my crew go and I'll share everything we know. You are in no position to make demands, human, but you may have value as an information source." Vex turned to Sub-Commander Kraft. "Take the captain to holding cell 3. Kill half the crew to show him we are serious. Keep the others for now." Jake's blood went cold. "Wait, you don't need to kill anyone." "I'll cooperate. I know you will," said Vex. "But your crew needs to understand the consequences of resistance." Before Jake could protest further, Kraft and his soldiers dragged him away. As they moved through the ship, Jake tried to remember the layout and think of any way to escape or fight back. But with no weapons and no working ship systems, options were limited. They threw him into what used to be a storage room. The door sealed with an electronic lock that Jake had no way to open. He was alone in the dark, listening to the sounds of the aliens taking over his ship. After what felt like hours, Jake heard different noises, mechanical sounds from deep in the ship. Then the lights flickered on for a few seconds before going dark again. Someone was working on the ship's systems. Lisa Hayes. She had made it to engineering. Jake pressed his ear to the door and heard alien voices in the corridor. They sounded angry and confused. Something was happening that they didn't expect. Lights came on again, this time staying on. Jake felt a slight vibration through the floor. The ship's gravity system was working again. Lisa was bringing systems back online piece by piece. Then he heard weapons fire, energy blasts, and shouting in both human and alien voices. Some of his crew were fighting back. The door to Jake's cell suddenly clicked open. He carefully looked out and saw the corridor was empty. The electronic lock had failed when Lisa restored power to this section. Jake made his way carefully through the ship. He could hear fighting in different areas, but he needed to find weapons and gather his. Crew. In the security office, he found Danny Cruz tied up but alive. Captain, Danny whispered as Jake cut him free. Lisa got main power back online. Some of the crew broke free and are fighting, but we're outnumbered. Where are our weapons? The aliens took them to cargo bay too. But Jake, there's something else. The ship is moving. Jake felt it then. The slight pull of acceleration. Moving where? I don't know, but we're not in control. The aliens are piloting us somewhere. Through a porthole, Jake could see stars moving past. The Defiance was traveling through space, but not by human command. They were prisoners on their own ship, being taken to an unknown destination, but Lisa Hayes had given them a fighting chance. The ship had power, some systems were working again, and not all the crew were captured. The Zephyrians had made a mistake. By underestimating human determination, Jake picked up a piece of metal pipe that would have to serve as a weapon. Come on, Danny. Let's go remind these aliens why humans survived long enough to reach the stars. Jake Morrison and Danny Cruz moved through the dark corridors of their own ship like ghosts. The emergency lighting cast long shadows, and every sound made them freeze and listen. They could hear alien voices and heavy footsteps echoing from different parts of the Defiance. This way, Danny whispered, leading Jake toward Cargo Bay 2. I saw them take our weapons there before they locked me up. They reached a corner, and Danny held up his hand. Around the bend, they could hear two Zephyrians talking in their own language. The voices were getting closer. Jake grabbed Danny's arm and pulled him into a maintenance shaft. They crawled inside just as the aliens walked past. Through the metal grating, Jake could see their four-armed bodies and the strange weapons they carried. When the aliens were gone, Jake and Danny continued toward the cargo bay. The ship shuddered around them, and Jake could feel they were still accelerating. Somewhere, alien pilots were flying his ship to an unknown destination. Captain, Danny whispered, where do you think they're taking us? Probably their home world. Or a prison planet. Jake didn't want to think about what would happen to his crew once they arrived. We need to take back our ship before we get there. They reached Cargo Bay 2 and found it guarded by one Zephyrian soldier. The alien was facing away from them, watching the main corridor. Jake and Danny looked at each other and nodded. They rushed the guard together. Danny hit him low, while Jake swung his metal pipe at the alien's head. The Zephyrian was strong and fast, but surprised. He went down hard and didn't get back up. Inside the cargo bay, they found their weapons and equipment. Jake grabbed his sidearm and felt better immediately. Then he took his plasma rifle and extra power packs. Now what? Danny asked. Now we find Lisa and the others. We need to know what systems she got working and figure out how to take control of our own ship. They made their way to engineering, avoiding alien patrols. The ship felt different now that some power was restored. The air was fresher, and Jake could hear the familiar sounds of the life support systems working. In engineering, they found Lisa Hayes working frantically at a control panel. She looked up when they entered, relief clear on her face. Captain, thank God you're alive. I managed to restore about 30% of our systems, but the aliens have control of navigation and engines. What about weapons? Jake asked. That's the strange part. They didn't just disable our weapons. They seem to have forgotten about them entirely. I think I can bring our defensive systems back online, but our main guns are still dead. Can you get us control of the ship? Lisa shook her head. They've locked out the bridge controls from their ship. But I found something interesting in the damage reports. She brought up a display showing the ship's power systems. They're electromagnetic. Weapon didn't just shut us down. It caused cascade failures in our fusion reactors. The containment fields are barely holding. Danny frowned. That sounds bad. It is bad. But it's also an opportunity. Lisa's eyes had a strange light in them. If the containment fields fail completely, the fusion reaction will go critical. The entire ship will become a massive bomb. Jake stared at her. How massive? Big enough to destroy anything within a few thousand kilometers. Maybe bigger. The three of them stood in silence for a moment, thinking about what that meant. Finally, Jake spoke. You're talking about turning our ship into a weapon. I'm talking about making sure these aliens regret attacking us, Lisa said firmly. Captain, I've been monitoring their communications. They're not just taking us prisoner. They're planning to attack Earth. Jake felt cold. How do you know? I managed to decode some of their transmissions. They're calling this a scouting mission. Once they're done with us, they're sending a full fleet to destroy our home world. Danny cursed softly. How long do we have? Their fleet is already moving. Maybe a week, maybe less, before they reach Earth. Jake thought about everyone he'd left behind. His sister and her kids. His parents. Billions of people who had no idea what was coming. Even if we could warn them, Earth's defenses couldn't stop a full alien fleet, he said. No, Lisa agreed. But we might be able to stop the fleet from leaving. How? Lisa pulled up another display. I've been studying the alien ship that captured. U.S. It's not just a warship. It's a command vessel. Commander Vex is coordinating the entire attack from here. Jake began to understand. If we take out the command ship, ... the fleet loses its leader and coordination. It might buy Earth time to prepare, or even stop the attack entirely. But that means ... double quotes, Danny started. It means we sacrifice ourselves. To save Earth, Jake finished. We turn our ship into a bomb and ram their command vessel. The three of them looked at each other. It was a desperate plan, but it might be their only chance to save their home world. Can we do it? Jake asked. Lisa, technically yes. I'd need to carefully overload the fusion reactors, while maintaining just enough control to steer the ship. The explosion would be big enough to destroy both vessels. What about the crew? Can we get them off the ship first? Lisa shook her head. The aliens control the escape pods, and even if we could launch them, they'd be destroyed in the explosion. Jake closed his eyes. He was asking his entire crew to die to save Earth, but if they did nothing, everyone would die anyway. There's something else, Lisa said quietly. I intercepted another transmission. They're not planning to keep any of us alive. Once we reach their space, they're going to kill the entire crew and study our bodies. That decided it for Jake. They were dead either way, but this way their deaths might mean something. How long do we have? He asked. About 6 hours before we reach their territory. After that, we'll be surrounded by their ships and won't have a chance. And we do it now. Can you contact the rest of the crew? Lisa nodded. I restored internal communications. Most of the crew is still alive, but they're scattered around the ship, hiding from the aliens. Jake picked up the communication device. All crew, this is Captain Morrison. Listen carefully. We have a chance to strike back at these aliens and save Earth, but it requires the ultimate sacrifice from all of us. He explained the plan quickly. The responses came back one by one. Dr. Martinez from the medical bay. Navigator Amy Watson from her hiding place in the computer core. Technician Kyle Johnson from the maintenance tunnels. One by one, every surviving crew member agreed to the plan. They would turn the Defiance into a weapon. They would make the aliens pay for underestimating humanity. And maybe, just maybe, it would save their home world in the process. All right, Jake said, looking at Lisa and Danny. Let's show these aliens what humans do when they're backed into a corner. The next few hours were the longest of Jake Morrison's life. While Lisa Hayes worked on modifying the fusion reactors, the rest of the crew carried out their desperate plan. They had to take control of their ship without alerting the Zephyrians to what they were really doing. Danny Cruz led a small team to retake the bridge. They moved through maintenance tunnels and service corridors, avoiding the alien patrols. Amy Watson had mapped out the alien positions using the security system, and she guided them through the safest routes. 2 guards at the bridge entrance. Amy's voice crackled through their communicators. They're armed with those energy weapons. Danny looked at his team. Kyle Johnson carried a plasma torch from engineering, and Betty Adams had found some old mining explosives in storage. Not much, but it would have to do. Remember, Danny whispered, we need to take the bridge quietly. If the aliens on the command ship realize we're fighting back, they'll destroy us before we can complete the mission. They attacked fast and silent. The plasma torch cut through the first alien's armor before he could raise his weapon. Betty's explosive charge stunned the second guard long enough for Kyle to knock him unconscious with a heavy wrench. On the bridge, Danny found more aliens, working at the control stations. The fight was louder this time, but they managed to kill or capture all the Zephyrians before they could send a warning. Bridge secured, Danny reported to Jake. Meanwhile, Dr. Paul Martinez was dealing with a different problem. Several crew members were badly injured from the initial attack, and he needed to keep them alive and fighting. In the medical bay, he worked with limited supplies while Nurse Jenny Carter helped him. Doctor, I don't think I can make it, said Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez. He had taken a direct hit from an alien energy weapon, and his burns were severe. You're going to make it, Sam. We all are. Martinez injected him with painkillers. We're going home one way or another. But Martinez knew the truth. Even if their plan worked, none of them would see Earth again. He had volunteered for this mission to explore new worlds, not to die fighting aliens. But sometimes, life didn't give you the choices you wanted. In engineering, Lisa Hayes was pushing the ship's systems harder than they were ever designed to go. The fusion reactors were already unstable from the alien weapon, and what she was doing would make them even more dangerous. Lisa, how much longer? Jake asked over the communicator. I need at least 2 more hours to modify the containment fields. And Jake, once I start the final sequence, we'll have maybe 10 minutes before the reactors go critical. Understood. Keep working. Jake was in the cargo bay, helping free the remaining crew members who were still prisoners. The Zephyrians had tied them up, but left only 2 guards. It was almost too easy, which made Jake nervous. Captain, said Technician Tony Clark as Jake cut his bonds, something's not right. Why did they leave so few guards? Jake had been thinking the same thing. Maybe they don't think we're a threat. Or maybe it's a trap. Before Jake could respond, alarms started sounding throughout the ship. Not human alarms, but the strange alien sounds that meant the Zephyrians knew something was wrong. All teams, report, Jake said into his communicator. Bridge team here, Danny's voice came back. We've got control of navigation, but the aliens are trying to override us from their command ship. Medical team secure, reported Dr. Martinez. Engineering here, Lisa said, and Jake could hear strain in her voice. Captain, they're scanning. Our fusion reactors. They know what we're trying to do. Through the ship's speakers, Commander Vex's voice filled the air. Humans, your resistance is pointless. Surrender now, and some of you may live to serve the Empire. Jake grabbed the ship's communication system. Commander Vex, this is Captain Morrison. Here's our counteroffer. Leave our space and never come back, or we'll show you why humans don't make good slaves. Vex laughed. Your ship is disabled. Your weapons are offline. What can you possibly do to threaten the Zephyrian Empire? We can die in a way that takes you with us. The laughter stopped. You would destroy yourselves? In a heartbeat, if it means stopping you from reaching Earth. There was silence for a moment. Then Vex spoke again, and his voice was different, more serious. You are not bluffing. Try us. Jake could feel the ship shuddering as the Zephyrian command vessel moved closer. Through the portholes, he could see the massive alien ship growing larger. It was easily 10 times the size of the Defiance, covered with weapons and armor. Lisa, how much time do you need? Jake asked. 20 minutes for the modifications. But Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildups on their ship. I think they're preparing to destroy us. Danny, can you get us moving? I've got partial control of the engines, but they're fighting me for command. It's like a tug of war with their computer systems. Amy Watson's voice came over the communicator. Captain, I'm reading launch signatures from the alien ship. They're sending boarding parties again, but this time it looks like they're coming in force. Jake looked around the cargo bay at his freed crew members. They all looked scared, but determined. These people had signed up to explore the galaxy, not to fight a war. But when Earth was threatened, they were ready to die to protect it. All right, everyone, this is it. The aliens know what we're planning, and they're not going to let us do it easily. We need to hold them off long enough for Lisa to finish her work. Tony Clark picked up an alien weapon from one of the dead guards. How long do we need to hold out? 20 minutes? Against how many aliens? Jake looked at the scanner display Amy had sent to his communicator. The alien boarding ships were getting closer, and there were a lot of them. All of them. The crew members looked at each other. 20 minutes against an entire alien boarding force, while trying to turn their ship into a bomb. It seemed impossible, but then Jake remembered something his grandfather had told him about the old wars on Earth. When the enemy thinks they have you beaten, that's when you hit them harder than they ever expected. Through the ship's hull, they could hear the sound of alien ships attaching to their airlocks. In minutes, the Defiance would be crawling with enemy soldiers. Positions, everyone, Jake ordered. Make every second count. We're not just fighting for our lives anymore. We're fighting for every human being in the galaxy. The sounds of cutting tools echoed through the ship as the aliens began breaking through their defenses. Jake checked his weapon one more time and got ready for the fight of his life. In 20 minutes. Either the Defiance would be a floating wreck, or it would be the weapon that saved Earth from the Zephyrian Empire. The alien boarding pods exploded through the Defiance's hull like metal fists. Jake Morrison heard the sound of tearing metal and rushing air as emergency force fields sealed the breaches. Within seconds, Zephyrian soldiers were pouring into his ship. They're coming through decks 4, 7, and 9. Amy Watson reported from her position at the sensor station. At least 50 soldiers, maybe more. Jake was in Corridor Junction 12 with Danny Cruz and 6 other crew members. They had set up a defensive position using overturned tables and metal plates. It wasn't much protection against alien energy weapons, but it was all they had. Remember, Jake told his people, we just need to buy Lisa 20 minutes. Every second counts. The first wave of Zephyrian soldiers came around the corner like a gray storm. Their 4 arms moved independently, some firing weapons while others threw small explosive devices. Jake had never seen anything move so fast. Danny's plasma rifle lit up the corridor with bright energy beams. 2 aliens went down, but more kept coming. Jake fired his sidearm as fast as he could, aiming for the gaps in their armor. Fall back, Jake shouted as the aliens got closer. His team retreated to the next junction, but they left 3 crew members behind. The aliens were too strong, too fast, and there were too many of them. In engineering, Lisa Hayes could hear the battle raging throughout the ship. Her hands moved quickly over the reactor controls, making the final adjustments that would turn the Defiance into a massive bomb. 15 minutes, she said into her communicator. I need 15 more minutes. The reactor core was glowing brighter than she had ever seen it. Warning lights flashed red all around her, and the computer kept announcing danger alerts. The fusion reaction was building toward critical mass, but it had to be controlled perfectly, or it would fizzle out instead of exploding. Technician Kyle Johnson was helping her, even though he clearly didn't understand the technical details. Lisa, what happens if they stop us before you finish? Then Earth dies, Lisa said simply. And everyone we ever cared about dies with it. On the bridge, Danny Cruz was fighting a losing battle for control of the ship. Every time he managed to override an alien command, they would take control back. From their command vessel, the Defiance was slowly turning away from the alien ship. Jake, Danny called over the communicator, they're trying to move us away from their command vessel. If they get too much distance, our explosion won't reach them. How long can you hold them? Maybe 10 minutes. Their computer systems are more advanced than ours. Jake looked around the corridor where his team was making their stand. Half is. People were dead or wounded, and the aliens kept coming. Dr. Martinez was doing what he could for the injured, but without proper medical equipment, there wasn't much hope. Amy, Jake called to his navigator, can you calculate the minimum distance we need to damage their command ship? Working on it, Amy replied. She was crouched behind an overturned desk, using a portable computer while energy blasts flew over her head. Based on the size of our explosion and their armor, we need to be within 500 meters. How far are we now? 800 meters and increasing, Jake cursed. They were running out of time and space. The aliens were pushing them back through the ship, and the Defiance was drifting away from its target. Suddenly, a new voice came over the ship's communication system. It was Sub-Commander Kraft from the alien boarding force. Human Captain, you have fought bravely, but pointlessly. Surrender now, and Commander Vex may allow some of your crew to live. Jake grabbed his communicator. Tell Commander Vex that humans don't surrender. We'd rather die free than live as slaves. Then you will die, Krath replied. But your home world will still fall to the Empire. Maybe, Jake said, but you won't be there to see it. In engineering, Lisa Hayes made the final adjustment to the reactor core. The fusion reaction was now building toward an uncontrolled explosion. She had maybe 8 minutes before the containment fields failed completely. It's done, she announced. The reactors will go critical in 8 minutes. Nothing can stop it now. Jake felt a moment of relief, followed immediately by terror. They had succeeded in creating their weapon, but now they had to get close enough to the alien command ship to use it. Danny, we need those engines now. I'm trying, but they've locked me out of the main systems. Kyle Johnson's voice came over the communicator from engineering. I've got an idea. What if we don't use the main engines? What do you mean? Jake asked. The maintenance thrusters. They're on a separate system that the aliens might not have noticed. If we fire them all at once, we could push the ship forward. It was crazy, but it might work. Do it, Jake ordered. Kyle began firing every small thruster on the ship. The Defiance shuddered and slowly began moving toward the alien command vessel. It wasn't fast, but it was movement. Commander Vex's voice filled the ship again. What are you doing? Stop your ship immediately. Jake laughed. Sorry, Commander. This train doesn't have brakes. The alien attacks became more desperate. More boarding pods attached to the Defiance, and Zephyrian soldiers poured through the ship like water through a broken dam. Jake's defensive line collapsed, and his team was forced to retreat to the bridge. 6 minutes until reactor critical, Lisa announced. 400 meters to target, Amy reported. On the main screen, Jake could see the alien command ship trying to move away, but it was too big and too slow. A smaller Defiance was closing the distance, pushed forward by dozens of small thrusters. 300 meters, Amy said. The bridge doors exploded inward, and Zephyrian soldiers stormed in. Danny Cruz fell with an energy blast to his chest. Dr. Martinez dragged him behind cover. But Jake could see the wound was bad. 200 meters, Amy called out, even as she fired her sidearm at the advancing aliens. Jake was down to his last few shots. Around him, his crew was fighting with whatever they could find. Kyle Johnson swung a metal wrench at an alien soldier. Betty Adams threw tools and equipment. They were outgunned and outnumbered, but they kept fighting. 100 meters, Amy shouted. We're in range. 4 minutes to detonation. Lisa added. Sub-Commander Cruff was on the bridge now, his forearms moving as he fought 3 crew members. At once, he was winning. Jake made his decision. He ran at Croft, knowing he probably wouldn't survive the encounter. But he didn't need to survive. He just needed to buy time. The alien's energy weapon caught Jake in the shoulder, spinning him around. Pain flooded through his body, but he kept moving. He tackled the alien around the legs, and they both went down. 50 meters, Amy gasped. She had been hit, but was still working at her station. 2 minutes to detonation. Through the main screen, Jake could see the alien command ship growing larger and larger. On its hull, he could see weapon ports opening as Commander Vex tried desperately to destroy the Defiance before it got too close. 1 minute to detonation, Lisa announced. Jake looked around the bridge and what remained of his crew. Danny Cruz was unconscious, but still breathing. Amy Watson was wounded, but still at her post. Dr. Martinez was trying to save everyone he could. These brave people had given their lives to save their home world. 30 seconds, Lisa said. The alien command ship fired everything it had at the Defiance. Energy beams tore through the hull, but the ship kept moving forward. Nothing could stop it now. 10 seconds, Lisa whispered. Jake closed his eyes and thought about Earth, about blue skies and green grass and everyone he would never see again. They had done it. They had turned their disabled ship into a planet killer. The Defiance's fusion reactors went critical, and the explosion lit up space like a new star. The blast consumed both ships instantly, and the shockwave spread outward for thousands of kilometers. The Zephyrian fleet, waiting at the edge of the system, watched in shock as their command ship and its entire crew vanished in a ball of nuclear fire. Without their leaders and coordination, the attack on Earth was called off. The aliens retreated to their own space, and humanity gained precious time to prepare its defenses. The sacrifice of the Defiance and her crew saved Earth and showed the galaxy that humans would never surrender, no matter the odds. Their names were remembered forever as the people who turned defeat into victory through courage, determination, and the refusal to give up when everything seemed lost.